Let's get into it.
and get the conversation started.
Welcome to Inspired Men Talk.
Podcast where we sit down with real people and talk about their journey
The stuff they've been through, the bits that shape them.
and the moments where things started to change,
We talk about men's mental health.
but in a way that actually sounds like real life.
Some of it's serious,
And some of it is a little bit lighter,
but it's always honest and brave.
because most of this stuff doesn't get talked about enough.
And if there's one thing we've seen time and time again,
Is that there's always a way back.
so I'm Gary,
And I'm Peter.
and this is Inspired Men Talk.
And I recently found myself in a situation where I needed to ask someone for help. And I kind of came up with a strategy. I didn't want to wait until the wolves were at the door.
Yeah.
I kind of said, right, I'll ask them. Well, I'm still above ground, right? I've still got my head above water,
Yeah.
and I'll ask them. But I still found it really, really difficult.
Mm.
What did you do? What tips or what bit of advice can you give to anyone that's listening?
For me, I ended up there, and then it just got worse and worse. Once you can't, there's a passage in the Bible that says, the people without vision will surely perish. I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see the future. So without no future, I might as well not be here. And that's when the dark thoughts started creeping in.
Yeah.
My family would be better off without me. My missus could marry someone else who can provide for her, who's not sitting there fucking whinging every night, fucking crying, shaking, not knowing what to do. She could marry a proper man, a man who can sort it. So you start to talk yourself down, talk yourself that friends, I was fed up here. I was fed up hearing myself moan. So I'm pretty sure my wife and my friends were. So put them out of their misery. I just disappeared. We got insurances in place. That financially they'd be fine, but they'd be better off financially me dead than alive. That's what you start telling yourself. My girls were young enough to move on. They won't remember me 10 years down the road. They would hardly remember me. They'll get over it. And that's an awful place to be, to sit there planning how you're going to do this.
Yeah.
Still looking all right, still people on the outside thinking you're doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're planning the exit strategy here. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, awful place to be. And I wouldn't wish, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I truly wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Awful place to be.
It's horrid because there's no escape, right? You're in your own mind.
You don't
There's
believe
no
it.
escape.
You don't believe
Yeah.
you can get out of this. There is no future. How are you going to get out of this? You're going to lose the house. I'm going to lose everything. Everything I worked from the age of 6. I'm going to lose it all. Where are we going to live? How am I going to tell my children we're selling the house and we're going to, I don't know, knock on the council's door and see if they can put us up? I don't know. Yeah, it was just an awful place to be.
It sounds, and the stories always sound the most awful, but it's interesting because you had a nice business, your wife had a nice business, you've got lovely children, good friends. Out of all of that, when you're going through that really, really horrible, dark place, what was the scariest thing to face up to or to have that conversation with? Like, if you were going to do something stupid, what was...
The scary bit, for me anyway, was letting people down.
Right.
I remember talking after this when I tell people, not people who know me really well, but people who know me, they say, wow, John, I can't believe that. If I had to name 100 people that would happen to who would think that, you wouldn't even be on the list. You've got a beautiful wife, house, business, you're funny, you've got lots of friends, you living the dream. I still joke about it today. Hey, you're right, John, yeah, living the dream. But sometimes I forget. And they just couldn't believe that I'd dropped down to that. And it comes quick. And this is what I say to people, it can happen to anyone. Suddenly you're there and them dark thoughts come and it escalates. But one of the big things that turned it round for me, I heard this saying that when you commit suicide, the pain doesn't go. Because it's ever so painful being in that position. You can't breathe, it's painful. And the saying is, when you commit suicide, the pain doesn't go. You just pass it on. If I committed suicide, I would pass that pain on.
Explain how you'd pass it on.
To my daughters, to my wife. My daughters would have to go for the rest of their life. And when people say, where's your dad? They'd have to say, my dad killed himself. My dad didn't love us enough to stay for us. My dad was weak. My dad tapped out. Or whatever they would say. They might say some of that.
Sure.
They might say all of it. I don't know. But they'd have to say a story, wouldn't they?
And if they
When
didn't
they
say
have,
it, they'd
when
think
they
it.
have, when they get married, someone else is going to walk them up the aisle, not their dad.
Yeah.
So if they didn't say it, they'd think it,
Yeah.
even if they didn't say it.
And from the therapy as well, I've learned when things go wrong at home, the children never blame the parents. They always blame themselves. You know, when parents get divorced and split up, it's because they've done something wrong. They haven't, but they feel, well, it must be me. Maybe I wasn't too naughty. They'll blame themselves. I wouldn't want that on my daughters to think, you know, dad killed himself because I wasn't enough. Which is not true.
It's an interesting take.
Terrible thing to pass on.
It's an interesting take because we're often told as therapists you should never use that emotional pitch to stop somebody taking their own life. You can't go, oh, think of the others, think of your children, because that emotion makes them think even more, yeah, I'm doing it because they'll be better off without me and all that. But actually understanding it from not that it's like, oh, they'll be better off without me, which a lot of people get wrong when they say, tell them not to do it, think of the others. But actually understanding yourself that person will have to take your mantle on is a completely different reframe of how somebody else has to carry that weight afterwards. It's a totally different thing. It's not about you not carrying the weight anymore.
It's the same thing. If you're not going to do it for you, do it for them. You know, I don't think you can even begin to imagine what would go through their mind and my wife's mind and my friends' mind.
Yeah.
You know, my friends, I mean, I've had friends who've done this, and the question always comes up, I can't believe he didn't ask me. I can't believe he didn't talk to me. Why didn't he open up to me? I thought it was all right. I knew he was a bit down. I knew business was tough, or I knew, you know, he'd lost his job or whatever, but I didn't realise he was in that place. So when we spoke last week, why didn't he say something? So not only friends crucify themselves why they didn't do enough. I don't want children go through your wife and everyone around you. Yeah. And here's the thing, and I say it to everyone: there is a way out. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
There is, but
there is.
I know I'm asking a lot of questions at the moment because I'm really intrigued. So, how long did you have that what I would call suicidal ideation, and then if and when that stopped, did you just, that's it, I'm back now, I'm fully okay again, or was it okay, I don't feel like that, but I feel like this? What changed for you? How long did it hang around for?
The peak of it, I would say, lasted about a year, if I remember right.
Wow.
It was a bit of a blur, the whole lot, but I suppose about a year. It was about a year of it, and people say, "What changed?" And it was that moment there of passing the pain on. That's one. Two, I've got some good friends around me who come in and checked on me, said, "Look, you got this." Encouraged me, saying you can turn this around. If you want to borrow money, I can lend you a bit of money, get some stock back on the forecourt, get back to what you do. You know, you're good at it. You know what you're doing. You're world class at it. You know, just encouragement.
Mm.
But the big one was for me. I saw a video on YouTube, on Facebook. Sorry, I saw it on Facebook. A guy called Paul Moore, and he was telling his story, which just sounded very similar to mine. And I remember thinking, "Wow, that's me." He gets me. He understands. Because I'd had a few therapists and a few coaches and a few talking to me. And I kind of always felt they didn't quite get where I was. I just knew they hadn't been through it. I knew they hadn't been through it. It's right talking about it, but I knew they'd never been there.
Yeah.
You know, and some of them were a little bit too soft with me, wanted to just hug me and tell me think everything will be fine. And it was just a bit, others were just a bit paper. You could tell if I answered X, Y, and Z, they'd use paper number 3. If I answered that, they'd get the, you know, paperwork F out, and you just felt it. But then I met Paul Moore, and he'd been through it, and I knew he knew how I felt.
Yeah.
And he was a little bit brutal. You know, he says it as it is. He's not here to cuddle you. Told me a few home truths, made me more accountable, and then put stuff in place so I could create a compelling vision of my future.
Okay. So that first year of it at its peak was really horrible.
Yeah.
After that year and having a conversation with Paul Moore, everything went, you were back to being the best. Or was there a transition where you had to do quite a lot of work on you? You tried coaching. I mean, you said something really interesting there, that you had a lot of friends who checked in on you, so they knew what was going on of some sort.
one or two of them knew the depth of it. Some just knew I weren't in a good place. And I remember one good friend of mine, he's boxing, ex-pro boxer in IT, and he used to pop to the car yard to see me. And he just come to see me to have a chat like he normally did. And he said, "Hey, are you all right, John?"
Yeah.
And I answered, "Not really. No, I'm not." And that's the big point. That's the moment when you can say to someone, "No, I'm not." Because 99 times out of 100, you'll say, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm just a bit down at the moment, you bat it off. Say,
What changed
actually,
then?
actually, I'm not.
So what
I
would
think
you
you're
say
scared.
there?
I think, well, for me anyway, I got to the point where I'm scared that if I don't get a handle on this, it's going to be suicide. If I don't get control of this somehow, the road's going to take me to there, and I don't want to go there. I've got to do something. I'm not sure what it is, but I've got to do something. And even this guy, he said to me, "Oh, I get it, John. I can sort of feel it." He said, "Why don't you come and do some training with me?" Because we all know physical exercise really does help. Does get you out. I mean, when you're in that zone, it's the last thing you want to do is go for a run, go for a walk, go to the gym, or whatever. You don't want to do anything. But it does help, without doubt, 100%. And he knew that. And he said, "Why don't you come and do some training with me again?" So I've been around the boxing gyms training my whole life. He said, "Come train because I won't charge you. Just come train with me." And I suppose that meant a lot. That meant someone who I looked up to as a tough man, ex-boxer, this, that and the other. And he recognised I weren't quite right. And he reached out and said, "Come train with me. We'll have a little session together on the pads, see how it goes." And that makes you feel good. That makes you think, wow, people do care. People do notice that I'm not quite right. So I took it. I took that, did a bit of training with him, signed up with Paul Mortson, and I'm still with Paul today as a coach, and started doing things to change my mindset and get myself back on track.
Yeah, that really resonated with me when you talked about being open and honest with that person and saying I'm not all right. I had my own similar version of it, and I remember it very well. I was sitting in Eat in Stratford, and I got a call I called up our HR at the company, and the woman always answered the phone with, "Oh, hello, Peter, are you all right?" And I just went, "No," and burst into tears, and then hung up the phone and went, "Shit, what have I done?" And it took about 5 minutes. The phone just blew up because they kept calling me back. And eventually I answered the phone to them. And knowing that they were there, and I genuinely believe that they kept me here today.
Yeah.
Knowing that they were there to support me was massive. Just saying that one no gave them the opportunity to kind of come in and say, "We're here for you. We've got your back." So saying I'm not quite well, I'm not 100%, I'm not feeling it.
It's a turning point. It's a big, big step as a man, to say, "I'm not all right." And men say, "Oh, I've got to pull yourself together. You never had it so good. What's the matter with you?" It's not as simple as that. So yeah, I went on that journey, and with Paul, I now journal every day. I mean, I'm a big believer in journaling. I journal every day. I make sure I do some form of physical exercise, whether it's walking the dog or going for a run or doing something. Very wary of what I watch and what I listen to now. Look, I'm a coach myself now, and when I have clients come to me, first thing I'll say to them is drink 2 litres of water. You're feeling your energy's down. Drink 2 litres of water a day. That's the quickest eat. Look, I got mine here now.
Yeah.
Do some physical exercise. Stop watching the news. Stop watching the news for a month. Just for a month. Stop watching it. So drink the water. Stop the news. And these little techniques.
From the person I know, if you were to go back 15 years, 20 years, you wouldn't have said that to someone. In fact, you would have said, just pull your socks up, get on with it, man up. I'm a man's man. Yeah. And you were, from my understanding, a man's man. The old-fashioned money term, which means if you can't cope, you're weak.
Yeah.
What changed? Because you're saying all this lovely stuff, all this correct stuff, all this right stuff.
Because once I'd worked with Paul and started seeing some of these techniques and showing them, I thought, wow, this is working. This works.
Yeah, but it changed before that, because otherwise you wouldn't have gone to someone like that.
I realised I needed help. Whatever I was doing at the moment was obviously not working. So I have to change. And it's that famous line, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So something's got to change. And working with Paul, starting to do some of the stuff and some of the lessons and the techniques he's showing and sharing, it's nothing. He hasn't invented it. We all know what to do. But if you don't know, you don't know. Then once you start doing, you start feeling better, you do more and more of it. And then eventually I ended up being a coach. I trained to be a coach. So now when I've got guys coming to me, you can see it. I say to them, drink the water, stop the news, do the exercise, start journaling, and you can see them change.
Yeah.
So where are you?
Works.
Where are you right now in your mental health? You're dealing with the world. Because life still happens.
I still have moments because I'm a deep thinker anyway. But what you learn to do, you recognize the early stages of them thoughts, and you know what tools to use to pull yourself back rather than going into the abyss. When you haven't got the tools, you'll just carry on into the abyss, and then it's really hard to get back. But now, because you're aware of your thoughts, you're aware with the journaling and what's going on in your mind, you can address it a lot quicker and nip it in the bud.
So life still happens.
Sorry?
Life still happens for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Good days, bad days, people days, non-people days. Life still happens.
Even stuff like that, good days, bad days, they're just days, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're just days. They're just days. Is it a good day, bad day? Who knows? I love the story. The Chinese farmer. His horse escapes, and the whole village comes to him, don't they, and says, "Oh, that's bad news, isn't it? Your horse has escaped." He goes, "Good news, bad news. Who knows?" The village look at him. It was obviously bad news. The horse is gone. He said, "Who knows?" 2 days later, horse comes back with 7 other horses. Wow! The village comes over. Great news. Look, that's good news, isn't it? That the horse has come back with 7 horses. He goes, "Good news, bad news. Who knows?" Next minute, his son's shoeing one of the horses, kicks him, breaks his leg. Villagers all like, "Oh, that's bad news. Son's broke his leg." He said, "Good news, bad news, who knows?" 2 days later, the Imperial Army's marching through, looking for young recruits to take to the war. Can't take his son because he's got a broken leg. Good news, bad news, who knows? And one of the things on my mantra now is I always say, everything is always done for me, never to me. So even when I perceive it as bad news and bad luck and not nice, is it? Is it? Someone getting divorced, is it bad news? Maybe that allows you to meet the real, true love of your life. Who knows? You just don't know what's coming after this chapter that you're in at the moment. And it's not always bad or negative. It might be positive, but you need to go through that. So, a little bit working on myself, but I still have days where I feel, this ain't good. But you handle it a lot better now. You can ride, as we say in boxing, you can ride the punches rather than feel every punch that hurt. You kind of go with it a bit and ride the punches so they still hurt, but they don't knock you out. They don't.
I think one of the times we spoke, you said you'd done a couple of big sort of physical challenges. Now, I don't want to know about them all because this podcast isn't 2 days long, but what's your favourite physical challenge you've done?
Oh, the favourite that we all agreed in my stupidity to do the fan dance, which if people who don't know what the fan dance is, on the Brecon Beacons,
yeah.
And it's the initial test that the SAS use to see if you can be considered to join the SAS. So it's a test of not only your physical ability, and this is the important bit, but your mental ability as well. Your mental capability to take the pressure, that uncomfortable situation. Can you handle it? I said, I'm not going to do it. And then they all talked me into doing it. So I did it. I trained for it. And I've got the weight. I can't remember. I think it's about 30 pounds on my back. I think something like that on my back. Was it hard? It was a crippler. It was really hard. And at one point I've actually stopped because I've got sand in my rucksack. I've actually stopped to dump it and quit. And one of the spotters, she was a woman, she come over and said, "Are you sure you're right? You're not having a heart attack or nothing?" I said, no, I'm fine. I just can't do this. And she kind of talked me into it. She sort of said, "Look, if you can get to that point up there in the distance, it levels out. Instead of it being like that, it kind of levels out and it's a real breather. I think if you get to that point, you'll be fine." And she talked me into it. So I put the rucksack on and I did it. I eventually got back to base camp, and Ollie Ollerton was there. And on the same day, the actual SAS were there doing it as well. But Ollie Ollerton was there, and they said, "We believe I think it was 58 at the time. We believe you're one of the oldest guys to do it." Well, wow. Congratulations. And to this day, every military person I meet, I tell them I've done the fact. And they always ask me, "Did you do it with the weight?" I said, yeah, I've got the weight. I've got the weight as well. Because you can do it, I think they call it free weight or something where you just do it walking without the weight. But no, I had the rucksack with the weight on, which was, but ask me, would I do it again? No, I bloody well wouldn't.
Yeah.
And on
How
the
did
day,
you feel when
I say
you
yes, they actually run it. They've got the full kit on, the rifle. They run
the yomp?
there
Yeah.
and back. They run. Yeah, they headed out first, so they were on their way back as we were going out. Nothing but admiration for them.
So when you got to the top of that, or what the point where they're going, you're done. How did you feel?
Oh, I remember Denny said, because these guys are all ex-special forces, and he said, when he was talking me into doing it, he said, John, listen to me. What you go all the way up to the top, all the way down, all the way along, back, and then back up again. So you actually go up and down twice.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realise on the day. I thought, okay, no, I've got to do it again. And coming back, you go what we call Jacob's Ladder, which is crippling. It really was. It was hailing, and it was awful. Yeah. And you're right, Gary. When I actually got to the top, because I knew now I've just got the descent on the other side now. I can feel it now. I could just thinking about it talking, I can feel that rush of like energy in me now, thinking, I've done it. And you stand on that view and you overlook it all, and it's such a proud moment. You just feel, and I think it sticks with you. It will stick with me for the rest of my life, and it makes you realise, however tough something is, you can get through it. And remember, I nearly stopped on the first up. I nearly stopped and tapped out.
Yeah.
I mean, back going up Jacob's Ladder, I remember there's 3 guys and we're all struggling, and we stopped, and I said, right, tell you what we're going to do, guys. We're going to do 10 steps and then stop and breathe. I'm going to count them backwards. So we're like 10, 9, 8, and we stopped. 2 minutes, right, get your breath back. Right, we're good. Let's go again. 10, and we did this all the way up Jacob's Ladder to get to the top. But when we got there, you're right, Gary, it was just absolutely phenomenal. And actually, when we got back, we marched, the 3 of us, we went into camp. I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's do the conga. So we got in a line. Conga as we went in, just taking the piss, like, yeah, it was easy. That was nothing. Yeah. But yeah, I've done various other things as well, but that's really stuck out in my mind.
Yeah.
And I quite enjoy, here's a big one. I quite enjoy, I've mixed with quite a few ex-special forces guys. And that makes you realise, when people say, oh, man up, or pull yourself together, you're not a real man. These guys are just absolute legends. What they've gone through and what they've done in the SAS or the SBS, the Special Boat Service as well, you couldn't imagine it. And yet an awful lot of them end up with suicidal thoughts or end up in dark places.
Yeah.
And to say to them, oh, you're not a proper man, man up, pull yourself together. Shut up, man. Shut up. Nothing to do with that being a man or manning up or anything. These guys are world-class, elite, tough men.
And they still end up broken.
And they still end up in that dark place.
Yeah. Very true.
And to me, that said it all. I thought, these guys who are just complete different level, mentally and physically, have still ended up in a place where they're having dark.
But I think when you do something which was a stretch at best, out of reach at normalities, like I've done a couple of big bike ride challenges. Peter, you've done triathlons and all sorts, haven't you? Feeling when you do something which you thought actually you couldn't do, and you've done it, because I've done that, and I'm sure Peter has. It's fairly unique, isn't it?
Of course it is. Because, when you're in that dark place, well, for me anyway, I'll talk for myself, but I've heard it from other guys as well. One of the things you keep saying is, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't take the pain, the shit, the crap, the pressure. I just can't do it anymore. Can't do it. I'm going to tap out. I can't do it anymore. And doing the fan dance or your bike ride or the triathlon and all this tough stuff, it makes you realise you can.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do it. You can get through this. People do get through it. You can do it. You can survive. And that's what it gives you. It gives this little bit of belief, this little bit of confidence that however tough it is, you can still do it. You can get through this. So yeah, it's worked for me. And my wife would say, wow, the stuff I've done, from swimming in gorges in the middle of winter in the water and that. She said, you would have never done any of that 20 years ago. You would have just laughed at people doing it, thinking, what are you doing, you fool? But now, there I am, walking up mountains and Snowdon in the middle of the night with the Special Forces and all sorts of bits and bobs.
So what? Because we're right near the end of the podcast. You're a man who's got lived experience of those real dark places. You're a business owner who's got experience of those dark places. You're a parent who's got lived experience of those dark places. You know, you've been there, but you're back to being as successful as you want to be. What would you say to someone who's sitting there thinking they've no value?
I think the biggest thing I would say to someone is, as hard as it is, ask for help. Ask, because there is help out there. Don't just hide away and try and get through it on your own. So why suffer if you don't have to? Reach out. You're not the only person who's been there. There's thousands of men who've been there, who are still there now, and women as well. But we're talking about men, but it's both. But let's talk about men. Yeah, thousands of men, millions of men who are been there, are there. Ask for help. Why suffer in silence? Because you don't have to. You can change. You can do. And one of my clients said, he said, I can't believe how such a big impact the small changes made.
Yeah. Those little steps.
Yeah. He said that the little things you've asked me to do, I didn't think they'd make a difference. Wow. What a difference it's made to me. And that hit home to me. He said, I couldn't believe how such small steps could have such a big impact. So I know you think this position you're in, you can't get past it, you can't succeed. You can. With small steps, with someone guiding you and just showing you a different way, you can suddenly get back to living an awesome, inspiring life again. Hey, you still have days, don't get me wrong. It's not all roses and, you know, smelling the flowers. That's life. You're supposed to experience anger, fear, happiness, joy. You're supposed to experience it all, not just the fear and anger and depression. Experience it all in small doses, and it is doable. It really is. And you're not alone. You're really not. And people do care, despite what you think when you're there. People do care. And for me, that friend, the ex-pro boxer, just that one word, because, you know, we're tough men. We talk about fighting. We're like, yeah, geezers, aren't we? He sort of stopped and looked me in the eye and said, John, are you all right?
I think that's a really important part, John, because all three of us are now professionals.
Yeah.
But actually, what was the catalyst for both of you was to talk, when somebody asked you if you're okay, you went, no. To somebody who didn't know what to do with it, but just cared.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if somebody comes to me...
I think there's nothing more sad than when you hear people who have committed suicide and nobody knew. Nobody knew that they were in that dark place. You know, I mean, some people, they do know, they've been through a bit of a journey and they kind of, it's been going on quite a while.
Yeah.
But when you hear people that completely out the blue, you think, wow, what happened there? And obviously they were in a position where they didn't want to mention it at all to anyone, never give a hint to anyone. But for me, quite a few people, I'd come to you, Gary, didn't I? Did a bit of work with you, Gary, and a few other people. My wife was aware of how I was starting to feel.
But you were very brave because you put it out there. And I think we've all got that courage. And I think, and I've said this before, we've got to make it. The fact that you're telling this story on here today, where so many people, well, not John, not Peter, not Gary, they'll go, we tell our stories so you can tell yours.
Yeah.
We need to open up that, or get rid of that stigma where men can't talk.
Well,
men do talk. Inspired men talk.
And what I've found, Gary,
can't.
When I tell my story, they're quite shocked that I'm willing to say it. I'm all right. Hey, I know what I am and I know what man I am, or how tough a man I am. I know what I am. I'm comfortable with that. And it's amazing when I do tell people this story, how many come up to me privately and go, yeah.
We need to make it so it's not private.
And then
so people can just go, me too.
So if you're willing to put your hand up and admit that, they are as well. And that's what I said with for me, the Special Forces guys, that was a big turning point for me when these legendary hard men are putting their hand up and saying, I need help. I'm not in a great place. And that, I thought, well, if they could do it, I can as well. Yeah. So, yeah.
Peter, we need to draw this to a close.
We do. John, before we go, very quickly, give us a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds on where people can find you, what social media, all of that sort of stuff.
The easiest place to find me is on Facebook, John Hirniak. Go on Facebook. There's little videos on there, little snippets of knowledge and wisdom that I give there. You can go on Instagram, John Hirniak Coaching. Go on there. You can reach out to me in the DMs. You can work with me if you wish. If you want me to work with you as a coach or as a therapist, you can reach out to me. Or If you just want to ask me something, if you just want some advice, don't work with me. You don't have to. And you just tell me what's going on. And I might be able to advise you where you need to go next, even if it's not work with me. Don't sit there in silence. Reach out. If you've got a question, I'll answer it. Reach out to me.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Gary, any final thoughts from you?
No, I just, yet another really inspiring story, and such courage of just stepping up when you needed to step up, even though it took a year, because sometimes we're in our own head, but you eventually stepped up, and look at the change it's made. Who are you now compared to where you were? I'm just always really happy to see the change in you.
Yeah. And for me, a big one is maybe because of my age as well, giving back a little bit, giving back
Yeah.
to people. And
Yeah.
it's just a real nice feeling. When I see transformation, when I see transition, when I see the change in people, just talking about it, it's just like mind blowing that
Yes.
my story and guiding people to have that change. Yeah, it's just magical. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, it's all good stuff.
And I think from me, the one takeaway that I will pull on this one is we always, when we talk to financial people, we talk about compound interest. And we've talked about the small little things, and these lead to compound happiness. So those small little changes do make a massive difference.
They do.
So thank you very much, John. Thank you very much,
Been a
Gary. It's
pleasure.
been a fantastic time chatting with you. And we hope that you all enjoyed the talk, and we look forward to chatting again on Inspired Men Talk.
Lovely. Thank you for having me.